in your time with these bigger companies, with the Ubisofts and those where you're in a marketing role, what have you taken from that and brought to the indie space that other indie developers should be aware of, whether it's best practices, tools, whatever?
I've spent time consulting with indies beyond my time at Compulsion. While I was in Montreal, I consulted with a number of small studios there before starting Inevitable. My big thing is marketing it's not something you tack on to your product. Your product is marketing. Your development is marketing. Production is marketing. It's all one beast. And so when you're conceiving something to make, we're out to create something that challenges us, that inspires us, that's exciting to us. Something, it's hard work. Making games is, and I know now more than ever, it's harder than anything I've ever tackled in my life. But it's also super rewarding. But when you get into that, don't pretend like you can put your head down and just toy with something fun inside an engine and suddenly push it out to the world and be successful. You've got to think about how other people are going to get excited about it. You've got to think about how you wrap up that messaging. You have, it's constant, the elevator pitch and all that, but also what are the pillars of it? They're questions for marketing that actually really help your development and design. And I realize I'm not perfect at it. When I was just focused on marketing, it was a lot easier to interpret someone else's game, boil it down, get into what the messaging could be, talk about the campaign strategy, look at, the trailer beats and those trailer themes, and there are certain beats that we go by. Things are changing. It's kind of the Wild West today. Social media has disrupted a lot of what used to work well with a modest, moderate to high budget. And I've worked on some titles with huge budgets. So, TV's a part of it, et cetera. And you're looking at what is not just your trailer, what is your commercial going to be? When I first started working at Sega, we were making commercials for Sonic the Hedgehog and huge IPs. And I helped launch Super Monkey Ball, major things, and also worked on Shinobi and Virtual Fighter, major brands that are still around today and doing incredible things today, like Sonic. But that was crazy that we had all these resources and we were interpreting what was usually something from Japan that either they were trying to encourage us to market it a certain way or they had a certain message, but it didn't always translate to our region and our market. So there's a lot of friction, especially at the high level. I think some of that trickled down to us, but a lot of it would happen at higher levels of, don't tell us how to market in our territory. You're in Japan, we're in the States, or North America, Canada, and the States. And it was interesting to see how that would translate, but always it needed to be boiled down to what is that consumer promise? What are we actually using to get someone excited about? And it can't be convoluted. It can't be, you don't have, 5 minutes to explain to someone why they need to be excited. Content, footage, message, all that becomes so important. I think on the indie side, a lot of indie developers who don't have experience or it's their first time developing a game and they don't understand marketing maybe in the same way, but they are pitching. The pitch process is a great kind of put the training wheels on for what your marketing will eventually be, right? And I'd say when you're pitching, if you're trying to get someone in biz dev to take you seriously or want to apply a large amount of money to fund the project and partner with you, that's where those things like your elevator pitch and what are your pillars and what is that asset, typically some sort of, it can't typically just be footage. Everyone wants a playable for sure, but if you can put a trailer out that condenses down those things and makes it really exciting, I think you've got a huge leg up on your competition. For me, being on both sides of it, it certainly has benefits. I gave a chat or a talk at Montreal International Game Summit many years ago called, I think it was Bridging the Divide, or I don't even remember the title of it, but essentially it was exactly like your question, which was between publishing and development, what can we do on each side? Because I had been on both sides. What can we do to bridge that gap? What can we do to talk to each other and make it seamless? We're all out for the same goal. We want that game to get into as many hands as possible. You worked so hard on it. It's not just about being successful from a business side. If you care about the artistry of it, you want the most people possible to hear your story or see your work. Obviously, you want to be financially successful so you can continue doing good work. But what can we do to shake hands and realize we're on the same side? And some of that involves getting involved earlier from a marketing side, or showing that you're passionate, or hearing the concerns of the developer. Um, I know on the Far Cry side, there are a lot of stories. I've never had kind of a podium to talk about, but I was an internal champion for the dev team at every milestone review. I was playing the builds every time I got my hands on a new build, and I could talk to them about what they were building in conjunction and in context of what I was building from the marketing side, and that gave them, I think, transparency that they hadn't experienced before, as well as I was part of the process from like alpha up to launch. So that was huge. I had their trust, and I had a much easier time getting the things that made my marketing successful, whether it was a demo or screenshots or access to a certain build, or getting their information, the context that we needed to build out our plan. So there are huge benefits to bridging that, and big benefits, I think, of my side of, if you don't have expertise across those disciplines, at least try to cultivate an awareness, right? Be aware of what people are doing, what tools they're using, what the challenges are, whether they're a graphic designer, whether they're a game designer, whether they're an art director. It's like Ted Lasso. It's like, be curious enough and have compassion that everybody's working very hard, and it will benefit you. It'll benefit your work.